Good evening, everyone. I'm Laurę Vandenbosch, and I'll share today some of the insights we've learned through examining how children are today growing up in a digital world. Before I kick off, I would like to thank all of the members of my research team who work with me day and night to get these insights on children and digital media use, and so here they are. What we do in Leuven is that we try to understand what it means to grow up in a digital age. So we want to know whether digital media uses in teens, in children, enhance or impair various ways of their identity, their social interactions, their cohesion, their well-being, and maybe also, very importantly, what we can do to make sure that youth really have the best opportunities to grow when using digital media and can avoid some of the challenges that come with using digital media. Why do we focus on digital media uses in adolescence? Well, I'm sure for those among you who know teens, they know that they spend a lot of time watching their smartphones and that they do a variety of activities with digital media devices. They use them to search for entertainment, information, social interactions. In sum, a variety of uses characterizes the use of digital media in adolescence. The amount of time that they also spend on these devices is sometimes debated. I'm not sure how central it was here in Poland, but in the US at least, and also in some parts of Europe, the Meta scandal or the Facebook scandal, because the previous name was Facebook, of course, a Facebook company, really triggered some eyebrows in the policy debate because a former employee of the Facebook company stated that Facebook deliberately knew that they were harming especially teen girls' well-being with all of the features they develop in their platform. This really triggered the questions: how harmful are these social media, are these digital media to whom youth are spending a lot of time on? As an academic, we were a bit surprised about this public discussion. Of course, we knew already for a long time that teens are spending a lot of time on their digital devices, but we've also learned that the question whether digital media use harms or brings opportunities to children really depends on several factors. It's not an easy question to answer, it's a complex one. It depends on, for instance, what does your child especially do on media? What kind of interactions do they seek out? Are they, when they are using social media, especially busy with posting images of themselves, or are they seeking conversations with their friends? Are they playing games? What kind of video games do they play? Other thing is, in which environment do they use media? Are they usually using it when being alone, or is it when they're also doing other tasks, or when there's other cues in the environment? This will partly determine how the media use will affect their well-being. Another thing is, who is using this media? The answer depends on what's your cultural background. Do you grow up in a society in which an individualistic culture is very central, or are you more growing up in a collectivistic culture? Your school, what type of schooling are you following? But also, who are you? What kind of personality traits characterize you? Are you a typical sensation seeker, or are you someone who likes to visit quiet places? These things will determine partly how you respond on different digital media uses. And finally, we've also seen that short-term effects are not always similar to long-term effects. Some things may not harm you on a short-term basis, but they will harm you when doing them cumulatively over time, over and over again. Reversely, some things will change your mood on a daily basis, but on the long term, they will not affect your well-being or cause a depressive symptom with you. So we've seen that the answer whether digital media uses can be an opportunity or a threat is very complex. It depends on several factors. And today I would like to take you with me in answering or illustrating these complexities by looking at the relationship regarding digital media uses and one well-being component in particular. And so we'll be talking about whether television, so televised media, and social media are supposed to make youth vain, because this was something that was really central in the Meta scandal, namely that social media, digital media in general, are causing youth to focus more on their body and feeling more unhappy on their body. So to answer these questions, it's good to first have a look at what does it mean, your body? What is a body image? A body image is a mental map we have in our head about how our body looks like, feels like. It's about worrying about your hair, your body size, and other aspects of your body. We see that youth spend a lot of time thinking about their body. For instance, almost 85% of adolescent boys indicates to go exercising primarily to look better. 50% of girls indicates that they regularly think during the day how they appear to others. But of course, thinking about your body is not the same as feeling unhappy about your body. Yet, we still see that a considerable part of adolescents feels dissatisfied with their body. Around 60% of girls and 35% of boys indicates they are not satisfied with the way they appear to others. This body dissatisfaction is a direct causal factor for eating disorders. Of course, eating disorders are more common with girls, yet boys have other problems. For instance, 1 out of 10 adolescent boys considers to use anabolic steroids at one point in life to increase their muscularity. So we can say that body dissatisfaction takes a quite central place in growing up, and this is not surprising because, of course, during adolescence there are some key changes in how teens develop that very much relate to body image and make it to have a more central place in their growing up. For instance, we have the primary sex characteristics that start the growth spurt. Their body starts to change and they have to accept this changing body. Due to their increased mental skills, they can also reflect more in depth about this new body of them, but also of that of their peers. Their abstract thinking skills really promote or support them to form a mental image about how they look and how they see this body in relationship to their peers. And finally, there are a variety of psychosocial changes going on. They become more independent of their parents and they will turn more to peers for different subjects for getting reassurance. Also, during this time, they get more freedom to use media more independently. And we see that they will use this freedom to spend a lot of time with media. There's no generation or no developmental period better that uses more digital media than during adolescence. On average, they spend 1.5 hours watching television, so digital streaming and things like that, and they are supposed to spend almost 3 hours a day on different social media applications, which often, it can be seen by them checking the whole day their smartphone. But these digital media are also known to promote a lot of appearance ideals. And what is now an appearance ideal? We talk about an appearance ideal when we see that one specific trait of appearance is idealized. It is when we do not value the diversity of traits in one's appearance that it's being idealized. And for some years now already, we know that the appearance ideal in popular media content is characterized by low levels of body fat. It's further characterized by a different shape in women and men, in which we see that the curvaceously thin ideal is typical for females. It used to be a very thin shape, but it has further evolved to the curvaceously thin shape, in which we see a well-shaped bust, small hips, and low body fat. For men, we talk about the mesomorphic ideal, in which we see that there's again low body fat, but an increase in muscularity around the arms and legs, and the typical six-pack. For face and hair, a typical appearance ideal in mass media has a spotless face with no pimples or wrinkles. We see also for hair that girls typically have long hair, and for men, a full head of hair is idealized, going hand in hand with, for instance, advertisements against losing hair. For skin tone, it depends on your ethnicity, promoting a more suntanned skin for Caucasian individuals, while for black individuals, a more paler skin is valued in typical media outlets. We see that these appearance ideals that first emerged dominantly in advertisements, television shows, or magazines are also prevalent on today's social media. Youth in interviews claim themselves to see them prevalently occur with their peers. They explain strategies about how others apply filters or other tools to enhance their appearance or to select that one picture that brings them or presents their appearance highly in line with the dominant appearance ideals. So do numbers also show, with 60% of youth claiming that they almost only post pictures in which they really appear as beautiful, and beautiful is then defined according to the typical appearance ideals. And similarly, when we look at today's teen shows that are popular at Netflix, we see that only 4% of the characters portrayed there has an average to above weight. This is, of course, highly in contrast with the normal population in the world, as almost 10 times more people have that weight in the real population. So that's why we call it a narrow appearance ideal, because it's not representative for how the appearance is in the general population. But does the viewing of all of these appearance ideals now make teens feel bad? And I like to cite this quote of my colleague, of Candice Odgers of the US, who says, we cannot just simply go and ask people, do you feel influenced by digital media? The answer that someone will give is highly predictive, because there are many cognitive biases at play that will shape how you will answer this question. For instance, if you ask pornography users whether pornography use affects their sexuality, they will almost always answer this question positively, while research has never shown any positive effects of pornography except for a higher sexual arousal. So it's really known in research that self-reported effects by just interviewing respondents are not always a one-to-one explanation for what the true effects are, what digital media can do with how our well-being is formed. But still, we know now that there are a variety of narrow appearance ideals promoted in a variety of digital media that youth frequently consume. Will they make them feel more worse about themselves? The answer depends on how they will respond. So not all teens will respond negatively when seeing a narrow appearance ideal, an influencer with a great body shape on their Instagram, or when seeing a Netflix show promoting a variety of idealized character. It will depend on how they process these messages and whether they will respond with two processes that we have identified. The first one is the internalization of appearance ideals, and the second one are upward comparison processes. The first one, the internalization of appearance ideals, means that you will no longer consider the narrowly defined appearance ideals as norms that are idealized within society. This means you will make them part of your identity. So you will think that that thin body shape or that muscular body shape is not something that society idealizes, but something that is part of your identity. It's part of your identity of being thin, of having a spotless face, of having a six-pack. You will consider that as something that you are. And so this really is a change in how someone's identity is determined by appearance ideals, because they're no longer external, but they're internalized, and that's why it's called the internalization of appearance ideals, in how you see your own self-image. Around 20% of youth shows some moderate to strong internalization of the narrowly defined appearance ideals. And this internalization is strongly correlated with, for instance, the prevalence of eating disorders. The second process that we see when being harmed by appearance ideals in digital media is upward comparison processes. Upward comparison processes are natural in human behavior because every human has a natural tendency to compare themselves to peers. We want to know what our position is in a certain peer group. But of course, you have different traits to which you can compare yourself with others too. And if you have the tendency to compare yourself with others and how they appear, so how their body is shaped, how their appearance is shaped, then you will show an upward comparison process in terms of appearance comparisons. If you show these appearance comparisons, you have two ways of responding to the narrowly defined appearance ideals. The one way is, of course, with envy. You will see, likely, that you're not the same as the promoted appearance ideal because the natural population is typically not similar to the ideals that are promoted in digital media. The body size is likely to be different, the hair is different, the skin is different, so there are a lot of traits you will discover that are dissimilar with you as a person as compared to the idealized appearance. This can lead you to feel envy, frustrated, unhappy about the fact that you're not similar with the appearance ideal. The other response type is that you will feel inspired. You will see the upper role model as something you can also achieve, and you will feel better in feeling inspired that you will also get such an appearance. Of course, it's clear from research that the inspiration process is only present in terms of narrowly defined appearance ideals for a minority of media users, as the ideal is typically unrealistic to obtain in general. You can see sometimes even those appearance comparison processing popping up in the comments that you see next to posts of influencers, saying they are very jealous on the appearance of the influencers, with others warning them to not do that and to not look out this content. But of course, we can also ask the question, but aren't it the dissatisfied media users who especially seek out this content? So the chicken or the egg question. Is it a media effect or is it a media selection effect? Are the users who are more preoccupied with their appearance looking more and selecting more these really appearance-focused contents? The question, or the answer better, on this question depends on the type of media people are using. So if it's about television, we don't see that appearance-focused users are using more TV programs in which especially appearance ideals prevail. The reason for that is that the motivation for people to use television is very broad. It's often because you like to relax in the evening, you're looking for entertainment, you're watching a TV show because your friends are watching them and you want to talk with them about the TV show. So the variety of reasons brings you to watch a particular show, but appearance is typically not a reason to watch a show. Yet, if you're very focused on appearance, we even see that you sometimes avoid content on television that is highly appearance-focused. But I do have to say that results are sometimes inconsistent. But at least the answer is no, those who are more focused on appearance are definitely not searching for appearance ideals when looking at television. They're just so prevalent that it's rather hard to avoid them sometimes. It's different with social media, because of course with social media it's much more selective and some content is more clearly about appearance on social media, which is different with TV, in which it's often about a televised narrative that is central in your selection of the program. But on social media, you can really search out for influencers who are often focused, for instance, on giving beauty advice or lifestyle tips, of which there are no also to highly align with dominant appearance ideals. And we see here that those who are more focused on their appearance will actively search more out of these appearance content. They will look more for that type of influencers, but also in their own posting behavior, because of course on social media you cannot only scroll through appearance content, you can also create your own content and post it online. We see that those who are very focused on appearance will do more editing behaviors and spend more time on selecting pictures that align with dominant appearance ideals from themselves to post online. An illustration is the current study in which we examined over the course of 8 months a group of adolescents and young students to see how they responded to ongoing body image concerns, and we saw that over time those who were higher in body dissatisfaction and being more preoccupied with appearing well on social media would also actively use social media to validate their own appearance, and so to get the confirmation or feedback from others about how their appearance aligned with dominant appearance ideals, but also that they used social media more intensively to really compare themselves with others. One question we sometimes get, yes, but aren't it especially women, girls who are seeking out these appearance behaviors? Because of course we know, for instance, also with regard to influencers, that the majority of the well-known influencers are female and known for their appearance. Part of the answer is yes. Traditional gender roles in our society prescribe that appearance is especially valued in the female traditional role. In traditional gender roles, women are believed to have to put more emphasis on their attractiveness, on their appearance to attract a male suitor. So it is partly embedded in how our society has traditionally predefined what it means to be a woman or to be a man. At the same time, we see also when studying different digital media, popular television programs, popular social media posts, that typically women are appearing as much more beautiful than men. It's almost 3 times as many women that prevail to the ideal or comply to the ideal body size than men. So we see a clear difference in the promotions of appearance ideals with women as compared to men. At the same time, I would say no to this answer. It is not only a female problem, because there are other appearance ideals present for men. There's the idea that men should be muscular. Although it's less promoted among men, we also know that it's more difficult for a male to speak about these appearance pressures that they encounter through the mass media. It's part of the traditional gender role of men to not speak of mental health pressures, including appearance pressures, which makes it a more complicated story. Also interesting is that when research includes male and female samples and tries to see whether the effects of exposure to appearance ideals in social media or in televised media differ between female or male samples, that this almost never is present. Boys and girls who see a lot of appearance ideals in media and respond with internalization of these ideals or with upward comparison processes will feel more dissatisfied about their body. So when they respond in the same way as girls do, they will also become more unhappy with their body. We even found that boys also have pressure about their appearance after seeing idealized women. So even when it's more women who are idealized, men will also feel more threatened in their appearance. So this makes us to conclude it is not uniquely a problem of the female gender. The question then is, what can we do about it? What should we think about to solve the prevalent appearance ideals in popular media? Two ways to think about this. That's a more bottom-up or a top-down approach. If you reason in a more top-down approach, it means changing the industry. It means changing how we create media content. This is often difficult, as conversations, for instance, with Facebook have already demonstrated, but also content creators in Netflix are also not always open for such conversations. So then the answer maybe comes more bottom-up, from changing the media user and what they value. This is the most examined solution, of course, because it's the most easy one to change, but it, of course, is also somehow debated because it again lays the responsibility with the end media user who is already harmed by some of the digital media practices, and then they are again seen as responsible to combat these pressures. So it is a mixed solution in some way. Also, it is not an easy solution, we have seen, because media literacy is a complex process. It is not the same as a medical intervention in which you can take a medicine that solves the problem. In the beginning, it was believed that you could go, for instance, to a school, give teens 2 hours of media literacy training, and then leave and think they're ready to face the different appearance pressures that they will see in their different digital media. This is not the fact, because what you actually even saw in some studies that when you go and talk to teens for 2 hours about digital media pressures regarding appearance, is that some even feel more unhappy about their appearance because they feel powerless against the prevalence of appearance ideals and how much valued they are. So it's a very difficult thing. Media literacy is also more than just knowing that there are harmful effects from media pressures, from knowing that there are appearance ideals and that they're not healthy for someone's body image, that it's not okay to just value only one appearance trait. This is what we call cognitive media literacy structures, and it's the knowledge that comes with how, for instance, digital media pressures develop. But apart from these cognitive structures, you also have affective structures. And these are the ones that provide media users with the right kind of strategies to respond when being faced with an appearance ideal. It involves emotion control strategies that you can use to combat some of the appearance pressures. It involves knowing for yourself as a person useful strategies about things you can do to take away, for instance, the unpleasant feeling you have received after seeing the digital media pressure. And it are exactly these effective structures that we see that help teens, protect teens in combating digital media pressures. We found in our longitudinal study, in which we followed a group of teens over the course of a year, that only these effective social media literacy makes them to engage less in appearance-focused online behaviors and so post less pictures in which they look perfect. It were the ones with those effective social media literacy structures that felt the most assured and responded with less envy after comparing themselves to perfect images on social media. So then the question arises, if we know that a 2-hour intervention training will not always effectively induce these effective structures, how can we induce them in our teens to make sure they are not harmed by some of the appearance pressures they encounter when using digital media? A first potential option we considered was maybe their peers, because peers talk a lot about appearance pressures among each other. They even talk sometimes in literature about an appearance culture that is shaped in peer groups because it's a typical everyday conversation to talk about how you yourself appear to others, but also about the appearance of others. Yet we saw that peers are not effective in socializing these effective social media literacy structure. What we did find was that parents can do this. Parents who actively talk to their teens about social media seem to have children that are more equipped with these effective social media literacy structures. This was partly surprising because parents usually indicate that they are not or they do not feel skilled in social media, but here we tentatively suggest that you actually don't have to be highly skilled in, let's say, platform features, but it is important to show interest in what your child is doing on social media and talk about how they experience different social media posts. At least we saw that the parents who do this, who take on these conversations, have children with higher effective social media literacy structures. And a final option we see as a potential solution is the movement around positive body image. So positive body image is not merely the opposite as a negative body image. It's much more than that. A positive body image has the idea that you appreciate your own body, of course, that you show body self-love, but it also has partly a kind of resilience when you encounter these negative structures, which, of course, relates to the social media literacy effective structures on how to respond when facing social media pressures. Moreover, it goes about showing appreciation for multiple body types and not just finding one particular body size beautiful. It goes about valuing the variety of body sizes in our society. We see that this body positive movement is also gaining more attention in traditional media outlets with, for instance, brands on social media using more plus-size models. We see that even on social media there are now more body positivity influencers, but also that, for instance, mainstream influencers who are not known for body positivity also post more posts about self-love, which makes that teens encounter these body positive quotes or posts around one time a month. Moreover, we see that in popular Netflix series, conversations about body self-love prevail next to the negative body images, messages. Although we should nuance this because, as we've also seen, is that these body positive messages about body positive self-love are still mainly brought by characters with a narrow to average body size. And so again, the representativeness of body sizes makes these messages still not how the body positivity movement would ideally see them occur. So this also makes that for body positivity, we're not quite there yet. The effects of body positive quotes, of body positivity messages do not always trigger in research the positive effects we're hoping for, and so they do not always come along with more self-love. And we can see that it's very dependent here again to look at who's posting the message and in which context are these messages about body appreciation, body self-love brought along. For instance, we saw on social media that children become more happy about their own appearance when they get positive appearance feedback from their peers. So when they post a picture of themselves online and someone tells them they look good at it, they will value their appearance more. But when they see posts of influencers posting you should love your body more, it does not relate more to body appreciation in themselves. A reason for that is probably that the idea of body self-love is currently distributed by a wide number of influencers who are at the same time also known for their sexualized appearances, and so they're very narrowly defined appearance traits. And so when those type of influencers post these kind of body self-love messages, it often has a questionable effects on how adolescents feel about their own body. This was further supported by a study in which we looked at different brands who are known for promoting narrowly defined body ideals in the past, like Abercrombie and Fitch, versus brands that are much more known for their valuing of a diversity of body ideals, like ASOS. We saw that when those brands start to promote body self-love, images of plus-size models, and so promote body diversity, that it's actually only appreciated from brands with a reputation of truly valuing this diversity of models, while this was not the case for the brands that are known from the past already to only value a very narrowly defined body ideal. So in sum, we think in theory body positivity is a very good idea, and we hope in the future to see more of that in different digital media. Yet we also have to recognize that there is a long way to go to truly promote this diversity of body ideals. Thank you for your attention.